Charles Oliveira submits Mateusz Gamrot at UFC Rio. He is back in the win column and we are here to review the events that occurred. Welcome back to Gibbo MMA. We are reviewing UFC Rio and predominantly I'm sticking to the main event here. A very top heavy card, and overall card it was, a pass mark for me, but Charles Oliveira gets the win in his home country and did the thing. And wow, he really kind of ragdolled Mateusz Gamrot a bit there. And Gamrot, he decided to take it to the ground with Oliveira, and look what happened. You shouldn't be going on the ground to a guy who has the most finishes, most submissions in UFC. Oliveira now has 21 performance bonuses, racking up over $1 million just in bonuses in the UFC. He's also now tied with Marco Crocop with the most finishes in UFC, Strikeforce, WEC, and Pride. And Pride. So this guy's a finishing machine, and coming into this fight, I was questioning if Oliveira can finish him. Can he be the one to finish Gamrot? Because Gamrot, as we know, has never been finished, never been knocked out, never been submitted. And Charles Oliveira is now the first guy to finish Mateusz Gamrot in his MMA career. And congratulations. And this fight was split down the middle. I was reluctantly, and I leaned towards Mateusz Gamrot to win this fight. And the reasoning was behind this was Oliveira coming off that crazy knockout loss to Ilia Topuria. I just thought it was too soon. But hey, a good win, a great win, a crazy finish instantly puts that in the rear view mirror and we move on, because in the MMA world things move fast and everyone's always thinking, what's the next thing? Who are you going to fight next? What's the next opponent? It's a very short memory the fans have. We have very short memories. And now Oliveira's getting on the mic and calling for that BMF title against Max Holloway. This fight is very overdue, I must say. The fans have been calling for it. So Oliveira versus Max Holloway for the BMF title. We need to see it. We must see it. And I'm super pumped. Book it, Dana, Hunter Campbell. Get this fight booked. Because Oliveira versus Holloway, the two biggest stars in the UFC lightweight division at the moment, need to get in there together. And let me just touch on Gamrot a little bit. You got to give it to him for coming in on short notice in Rio, not with a full camp, a 5-round fight, main event. He tried his best. He landed some shots. He did. And I just think, if you're not an Islam, going to the ground with Charles Oliveira you just can't be doing that. And Mateusz Gamrot's game, I say it's a little bit like Merab, just constant pressure, clinch against the cage, take down, and just grind away. He couldn't do that against Oliveira because he got Oliveira down, but Oliveira reversed the positions. There was times Gamrot had his arm stuck in Oliveira's guard, looking for an armbar, Kimura, omoplata. It's just super dangerous. And then in the second round, Oliveira gets it to the mat, gets his hooks in, and sinks that choke. And it didn't look like it was directly under the neck, but he had it right up on the jaw sort of line, but he had his neck also twisted. But again, applying that pressure to the arteries. And Mateusz taps, and Oliveira runs into the crowd. And yeah, he's on cloud 9 right now to be doing that in Brazil, because we did have a few Brazilians lose on this card. But Oliveira fans, let me know how you're feeling right now, because I was very nervous coming into this for you guys. Did not want to see him get back-to-back losses. But yeah, as I do with my when I do make a pick, it's with my head, and I just had to go with Gamrot. But yeah, Gamrot looks like he's never going to be able to crack that top five lightweight ranking. So it's the hardest division in the sport. So he'll be considered as a great top 10, top 15 lightweight. There's no shame in that. I That's a huge accolade in my opinion to say, hey, I've at one stage of my career I was in the top 10 lightweights in the UFC because that is the hardest division in MMA, but also in all of sports, one of the hardest competition divisions to win in. So, Mateusz Gamrot, keep your head up. The Polish fans will be right behind you still. Get back in there. He will have to probably fight back again, like what he had to do with Ludwig Klein. Um, but the main event delivered. I know the UFC executives will be really happy with that. And let's get on to this co-main event. A bit of a weird one. Davison Figueiredo, 3-1 or almost 4-1 underdog, gets a decision win over Montel Jackson. And Figueiredo, being a shorter guy, I thought he was going to have issues with the striking, the range. But he was the one putting more volume out, threatening the takedowns, and Montel Jackson just looks stuck in the mud. He seems to be a bit gun shy from his previous fight. Now this fight, not throwing anything. Um, yeah, pretty, and it was a split decision as well, which I'm very surprised that it went to a split. I thought Figueiredo clearly won that fight. So Montel Jackson and his team would be very frustrated, and he barely dished anything out and still was up for grabs for a split decision. So the drawing board is going to be very busy. We're going back to it because that was very much, Figueiredo, a number 6 ranked bantamweight, Montel number 15. That was his way to catapult up the rankings, and I believe he blew it to make the top 10. I don't know what's going on with himself and his camp, so I'm not going to be super critical. But just on the performances, you want the best for the guy. You can clearly win it, and he just fumbled the bag a bit there. But well done to Figueiredo bouncing back from that Corey Sandhagen loss where he got injured. And Merab tweeted at him saying, I'm waiting, I'm ready, I'll be waiting for you, Figueiredo. And Figueiredo, a former flyweight champ, good power, good ground game, and very smart by Merab though, because I believe that's an easy win for Merab. Another defense in December if he can get it. Or there's Petr Yan or Song Yadong, because everyone else he's beat. O'Malley, Nurmagomedov, Sandhagen we just had. So there's in the top 5 you got Petr Yan and Song Yadong to fight. But Figueiredo, a former flyweight champ, so to get a win over him would be great for Merab's legacy. And yeah, not too much to add on that. Just good bounce back by Figgy. Disappointing by Montel. So yeah, and we move on to the weirdest fight of the night. We always get these weird refereeing circumstances of just like brain farts, just like what's going on? Oh my god. And the ref, so Joel Alvarez defeats Vicente Luque by decision. But in the first round, Alvarez threw like a hook, and it was kind of like the knuckle of his thumb hit Vicente in his eye. Vicente goes down, hurt, but protesting it was an eye poke. And then the ref stops, calls time, and then they review it saying it's illegal. You're going to be careful when you say it's a legal strike because it sounds like illegal. So it was a legal strike. And then the ref sort of waves it. He waves off. Just like, I don't know, just the decision making was so impulsive, like waves off and then changes his mind, goes over to check Vicente, gets the doctor in, but it's like, that should be a TKO stoppage. So that should have been a round 1 TKO to Joel Alvarez. Again, play by the whistle is a big term used in sport, like soccer, rugby, and all that. Play by the whistle. As soon as Vicente got hurt, jump on him. Keep going for him. Don't let these guys protest, because it was a legal strike. And if he had to just kept pouncing on him, you can't complain. Obviously, it felt maybe like an eye poke, but it's a legal strike. And even if Alvarez pounces on him and then Vicente protested about the illegal, the review clearly shows that it was legal. So again, on Joe Alvarez's side, being the sportsmanship, great sportsmanship, stopping, but he should have just kept pouncing on Vicente. And yeah, I think Vicente, you never want to make these decisions for someone or say it, but I think it's time for him to move on. He's been fighting since 18 or 17 years old, and just crazy fight mileage. He's 23-12 record, but he's 33. You're like, oh, this is the prime years, but when you've been fighting for 15 years or so, your fighting age is 40 years plus. And the new guys are coming through, and that just proved it. I believe they should have stopped it when he was on the stall at the end of the second round going into the third. Henry Hoofer's coach was really trying to get a gist of if he should continue. I mean, like boxing, if it was a boxing fight, they would have thrown in the towel. So yeah, Joel Alvarez, he hadn't fought in almost a year, so good to see him at welterweight debut get the win. And Mario Pinto moves 11-0, gets a good heavyweight win over Deniz, round 2 TKO. Dominant grappling, absolutely dominant in the grappling. He was looking for that Kimura or arm lock or something, and with the bigger guys and the limbs, you're going to find it very hard to submit these guys with the limbs. You got to choke the big guys out. You got to put them to sleep. You got to choke you got to choke him, get the airflow away. Because Deniz, it looked like his arm was like fucking dislocated. But yeah, these big guys in their joints, you're going to find it very hard to tap them out with the Kimuras and the arm bars. You got to put them to sleep with the chokes. And then Australia's own Khan Offley, underdog against Ricardo Ramos, survives like a heel hook, knee bar, toe hold, all in the first round, and then gets a standing rear naked choke of his own. He spent probably over a minute on his back against the cage, and Ricardo was standing and eventually got that rear naked choke. So congrats to Khan Offley, fighting out of Melbourne. And yeah, not too much crazy out of this card. Vito Petrino got a great highlight knockout in the third round. Jeez, this guy is jacked. He was at light heavyweight, and now he's at heavyweight, and he's looking a lot better there. Again, the skill, as a heavier the weight classes go up, the skill level kind of goes down. It kind of stays one-dimensional in the stand-up, which is why I was very impressed with Mario Pinto for being such a dominant grappler and wrestler. Great technique, and then getting the finish, because these big guys aren't grappling that well. But yeah, well done to Petrino. And yeah, not too much else. The girls, a couple of bonuses and finishes in the women's. Bio Mosqueda gets a rear naked choke, and Julia Polastri finishes Carolina. Carolina, she's been around for a long time. You could clearly see the fight mileage, and at the end of the career, and gets standing TKO'd. But yeah, UFC Rio, like not a whole lot to review, to be honest. Top heavy card. We got the result a lot of people wanted to see was Charles win, and that's what we got. And yeah, as far as the matchup, that was supposed to be Rafael Fiziev. We're pretty worried that Oliveira could have been losing via knockout again with Fiziev's hectic stand-up. So Gamrot, just a bad stylistic matchup for him as we now sit here and see the result. Because both guys were trading off on the feet. You know, Gamrot did land some good shots, but Charles was super aggressive and kept Gamrot on the back foot. And Gamrot looked very uncomfortable on the back foot and eventually got taken down by Charles and, yeah, got anaconded, ragdolled, and got choked. And, yeah, just levels to this game because remember Charles' tear. Charles was on a hectic tear when he was champion. He was on like a 13, 14 fight win streak. And then he beats Michael Chandler for the lightweight belt. And this is back in 2021. So not that long ago, but time flies. Feels like it was only yesterday. Then he beats Dustin Poirier. And then he beats Justin Gaethje, but because he missed weight by half a pound, it was an official title fight. And then he lost to Islam. But that run he was on from 2018 to 2022 was insane. And he's been up and down since, you know, won against Bilal, lost to Armin split decision, won against Chandler, and then lost to Poirier. Now wins against Gamrot. And so him versus Max Holloway makes a lot of sense. Both guys sort of at, you know, you can see the end for their careers in MMA. And it's the perfect time to get that fight booked and done while they're still at a good competitive state of their career. And yeah, I'm just thinking if there's any more else to touch, but yeah, let me know your thoughts on the result, if you got your pick right. Because yeah, reluctantly leaning to Gamrot, but with the hindsight's 2020, yeah, not a full camp. You need a full camp for 5 rounds against a guy like Charles Oliveira because yeah, it looks like I was saying, you know, he's been training his whole life for this, and yeah, I guess when you got a guy like Charles who's that crazy and dangerous on the ground, and your whole game is centered around that, and to get finished, yeah, it's got to be tough. I think, yeah, having a full camp preparing for those positions might have helped him a bit, but maybe this was probably just inevitable the way it went. Charles super aggressive on the feet, and then, you know, back control. Charles loves getting that rear naked choke going for it. You got Dustin Poirier with it. And yeah, so I think Gamrot, you know, just a great top 10 lightweight, but cracking the top 5 just doesn't look like it, which, you know, for the guy, you know, his whole goal is to get to the title, so it must be a tough pill to swallow to have to come to the realization that he might not be able to get that title, but never say never. Who knows? Gamrot, he could have a little resurgence if he can get another fight by the end of the year, get another win, defend his spot, and maybe 2026, you know, can get another couple wins. He could get a title shot. But yeah, because he's 34 years old, so this is what I was saying. This is like the biggest fight of his life if he wants to get that title. And yeah, I think it's a tough, honest pill to swallow for Gamrot right now. Wish him the best, but that's UFC Rio. We have UFC Vancouver next week. RDR versus Brandon Allen, who steps in for Fluffy Hernandez on probably about a month's or 5 weeks, 6 weeks notice. So that's going to be fun. Be sure to check out my live reaction to the Oliveira fights. That's already up. And the other reactions. But let me know your thoughts on the card, how it went. And yeah, what's next for Gamrot? Let me know what you think's next for Gamrot. Because it's obviously, we know who's next for Oliveira. But let me know who you think Gamrot should fight next. I appreciate the support again, guys. Yeah, loving making the content. It's a bit of a grind sometimes, but hey. Because yeah, UFC, there's so many events every single week. Previews, reviews, reactions, lots to study. But hey, that's why we do it, because we love the sport. And again, be sure to hit like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the preview. Catch you later.